Now, today's story, I left it it's downstairs on the, okay, so I'll tell you the story as I remember it, maybe missing some of the ones in detail. So the Rebbe told this story in the early years. If I'm not mistaken, it was told on more than one occasion, and that is as follows. One Friday in Tzvas, as the Arizal had gathered with his disciples, they went out, as was his custom, to the field to greet the Shabbos. As conveyed in the Lachadaydi, to go out and receive the queen, the Shabbos. So they're out there, just on the outskirts of the town, just the very outskirts there. And the Arizal turned to his Talmidim and say, "Would you like? I would like to be Makabel Shabbos in Yerushalayim. Would you join me in going to Yerushalayim to complete, as it were, and actually be Makabel Shabbos, which was just before Shabbos was about to enter, before candlelighting, around candlelighting." So some of them said, "Yeah," and others said, "We have to ask our wives to be gone for Shabbos." So the Arizal became deeply disappointed, and he said that now is an opportunity for Mashiach's coming. This story is brought down actually quoted in the Kisvei Arizal, and brought down in the introduction by the Chaim Vital. It tells many stories into the introduction of the Arizal's teachings. The story is brought and sometimes quoted in his teachings. And he said, now is an opportunity to bring the great Shabbos, and it's lost. It's lost, over. And the Arizal remained there, and that's it. He remained in Tzvas, and the rest, it was 400 years ago, and the rest is history. So the Rebbe told the story then, and it was a great, he spoke Barichas. And he asked a question like this. He said, what was so terrible that the disciples said they have to inform their wives? It's actually a precedent in the Gemara. You find in the Gemara many times that a Tana, a sage, Nimlach B'dvisa, would consult with his wife. Now we're learning the whole Maila here of the Isha, Atidin Teref Levesa, Atakam Beit Laila. So they were doing that which Shulchan Aruch says you're supposed to do. And it's the decent, the proper thing to do. They're going off for Shabbos to Yerushalayim. The wife and family expects them back for Suda Shabbos, and not going to be there. So what's the terrible thing? So the Rebbe said like this: yes, it's a wonderful cheshbon, but when the Arizal tells you, let's go, there's no time for cheshbonis. There's no place for cheshbonis. What they were missing was that his kashus, the Rebbe says, you've got to trust the Arizal. He knows the din, and he knows the mile of Shalom Bayis, and the mile of the Isha, and so on. And if the Nasi turns to you and says that let's do this now, then there's no place even for cheshbonis of kedusha. Let's take out the Shulchan Aruch, look up the Meforshim, and see whether this fits in or doesn't fit in. But there needs to be the absolute compliance and trust in the Talmidei Chachamim. What is one of the measures which Torah has acquired is Emunas Chachamim. So if someone, a friend of yours, suggests it's something else, let's find out whether this is the right thing to do and take the necessary steps. But if the Arizal, the Nasi asks, the Rebbe is calling here, these are the early years of the context of this Fabrengen. The Fidik Rebbe is calling, started in the whole Shlichus and picking up and going. And the Rebbe, I want to tell you, waged a great battle with Lubavitch in Chabad to get this to make this real. It just wasn't. Just post-Holocaust, this is the early 50s. We're happy just to be Jewish and survive as Jewishness and build our institutions, bring up our children. I was talking about picking up and going to God for sake. godforsaken places and the whole shlichus. I mean, today it's so many years later, thank God, it's become the defines Chabad, but it wasn't at all. And there's all these protests and considerations, etc. So here's one of the early teachings that ever told this story, and the message being that Kindalach, Chassidim, when we get an instruction from Moishe Rabbeinu of the generation, the Arizal, then this has to be followed, and then you can understand it later, yes or no. But the first thing is compliance and obedience, and that's the call of the hour. Even if, it seems strange and impossible. But if you think it through, so they didn't know that he meant Mashiach would come then, okay? They didn't know that, and that would have answered the problem, what's going to be with the fact, we're all going to be there together. They didn't know that, but didn't have to know that. Now we know that the Arizal was the Mashiach of a generation. This was an opportunity. I'm just going to conclude. I'm not going to tell the stories now, but there were more than one occasion with our Rebbe as well. When the Rebbe expressed pain and disappointment that opportunities were lost, to seize the moment, as we said before, seize the moment. But the Rebbe says, interestingly, even though opportunity was lost, Arizal didn't himself go to Tzvas. I forget you guys, he'll do it himself. He remained there in Tzvas, the loyal, loving teacher. He didn't, display after that impatience and disappointment. There was a moment that was lost, but as the devoted leader that he was, he still remains working with them, because at the end of the day, we will respond. At the end of the day, the shlichus will be carried out, so there's no room for, we had this opportunity, no longer, and that's it, give up, or I'll do it alone, somehow without you. Not so. Whatever disappointment we face with, even in ourselves, and certainly in others, and if it was a big disappointment, a huge opportunity that was lost, here's the flip side of the message. Nonetheless, we have to continue the avodah, besimcha, and with devotion, knowing with certainty at the end we will achieve the end goal. Have a wonderful day.